In this video, I'm going to teach you exactly how I tell a story from data and hopefully turn that data into rocket fuel for your business, not just numbers. So you're sitting on a gold mine of data right now. Email open rates, click-through rates, funnel conversions, watch time, engagement metrics. But here's the problem. You have no idea what it's telling you. So you make decisions based on your gut feeling. And you look at growth like a roller coaster, up one month, down the next, never quite sure why. Because I know your business has this data, you're just not finding it or you're not using it. I see this constantly with our own clients. Business owners with dashboards full of metrics who either, like I say, ignore them completely or worse, interpret them wrong and take actions that hurt their business. And no one seems to be talking about this. No one's talking about how you actually tell stories from data. So today, I'm going to teach you exactly how to read your data like a story and turn those numbers into clear, confident action steps. By the end of this video, you will never look at your metrics the same way again. Before we dive in, I want to give you a quick bit of background about me so that I can tell you why I feel qualified to teach this. I spent years as a performance data analyst for a major hospitality group in the UK. Then I became a product manager at the world's largest digital publisher. And in those roles, I ran hundreds of tests, down to testing whether changing the color of a CTA button from blue to green would improve conversions. It did, by the way. Since then, I've built my own business to multi-six figures organically by understanding my data. I've helped more than 200 plus coaches, consultants, and online businesses scale using data-driven decisions. I've built a top 1% podcast, consulted for some of the biggest podcasts in Europe and the Middle East, and even worked with Dubai Chamber of Commerce on their own podcast. The reason my clients ask me, how do you always know what to do next, isn't because I'm a psychic or any of my experience. It's because I know how to read the story their data is telling them. So let me teach you how. Think about it like a rocket launching into space. In the early stages, you can grow purely on momentum, hustle, energy, gut instinct. And that works for a while. But then you hit what NASA calls max Q. So you can picture the rocket going up into space. You watch it on the television. Maybe it's a SpaceX rocket. And at some point, it's going to hit maximum dynamic pressure. And they're going to talk about this on the feed, where it slows down. It's the point where the rocket experiences the most stress. And if you don't adjust, you break apart. So it will decelerate and then it will reaccelerate. In business, max Q is when your growth stalls because you're making decisions without understanding your data. You can feel you're working harder but getting less results. And the solution is to slow down just like that rocket. Assess the data. Then, when the pressure has released, you reaccelerate in the right direction. I see people making two mistakes with their data. They ignore it completely. Like, I'll just trust my gut, which is their growth becomes unpredictable. They misinterpret it. They look at the numbers, draw the wrong conclusion, and take action that makes things worse. Both of these things are expensive mistakes. But here's the good news. Once you learn to read data as a story, everything becomes clear. So when I look at a client's data dashboard, I'll use what I call the 3-question framework. Question 1 is always, what's actually happening here? Because when you're looking at someone's data who doesn't understand data, even if they do, they're always going to speak over you. It's very unlikely you're going to be able to sit there and actually look at the data. They're going to speak about what they think is happening, how hard they've been working, how tired they are. Always the case. So what's actually happening? Collate your data across multiple time horizons. I want to look at yesterday, last week, last month, last quarter. Look against last year. If you don't have data that far back, just get as much as you can. Try and overlap as much data as you can. Make it color-coded and really easily digestible. State the facts without the interpretation yet. So an example would be, open rate is 35%, click rate is 0.2%. That's really all I want to see. I want to see that over the time horizon. So what did it look like last week, 2 weeks ago against last year? That's how we layer up data. Question 2 would be, what story does this tell? So now I'm trying to look for patterns and relationships between metrics. This is where pairs of data become powerful. So you want to ask, what does this metric plus that metric reveal together? So for example, how do high opens plus low clicks equal misalignment between subject line promise and email content? Like, how does that happen? You're building some sort of hypothesis. And then question 3, what action does this demand? So turn the story into that full hypothesis. Test that hypothesis. These days, you can even use AI to validate your hypothesis before acting. So an example here would be, Review my email copy, make sure the content delivers on what the subject line promises. Test this on your next 5 emails, for example. Just see what it says. It's going to give you some really transparent feedback. So let me show you this framework in action with real examples. Example 1 would be the email misalignment story. So a client comes to me, my emails aren't working. Should I change my offer? I'd be able to look at the data. The open rate is 32%, solid. Click rate, 0.3%, absolutely terrible. The story would be, people are curious enough to open based on your subject line, but the content inside either doesn't match what you promised or it doesn't drive any action towards your CTA. So the action would become, no, don't change your offer. Fix the congruence between the subject line and the body copy. When I say congruence, I just mean the alignment. So if you're selling how to get a 6-pack in 90 days and then inside you're talking about how to buy a dog, there's no way I'm going to do anything there. I'm obviously going to have a low click-through rate because what am I looking at? Doesn't make sense. That's a terrible example, but you get where I'm going. The result here would be, click rate jumped to 1.2 in 2 weeks from the same list, same offer, better alignment. Another example I want to give you would be like a funnel confusion story. So this is a genuine client of mine. Said a funnel is not converting. My offer must be wrong again. The data said the landing page CTR, 47%, really, really high. Booking page for the conversion, 4%, really low. So the story the data tells there is getting attention is easy. You're clearly saying something of interest, but there's low congruence between what you promised on the landing page and what you're delivering on the booking page. The wrong interpretation would be, my offer isn't good enough. I need to completely rebuild it. And this is what someone with little experience or someone who doesn't understand data would do. They'd spend time rebuilding. The right interpretation, there's a disconnect in my messaging. People clicked expecting one thing, but now I'm selling them something slightly different. And the action would be to review the promise to delivery pipeline. Make sure your booking page reflects exactly what you said on the landing page. And the result here, the genuine result for us was CTR dropped to 35. So CTR's dropped from 47 to 35. That might worry you, but conversion jumped to 11% from 0.3 without changing the offer, which makes the business easy to run because nothing's changed, it's just the wording. I've got a third example for you. The engagement trap story. So this one's subtle, but costs people thousands. Client data shows that podcast engagement is high, story views excellent, email clicks low, and sales almost non-existent. So the story that most people would tell themselves if that's happening, you've got a lot of social following, but no sales coming through, is that people are interested in me, they're engaging, and the job is done. But the real story is that engagement doesn't equal sales intent. People love your content, but they never buy. You're entertaining them, not converting them. And the action, of course, here was to stop measuring success by likes and views, start measuring by clicks to offer and booked calls. So you change your content strategy to include more focused sales CTAs. And this is the most common misread I see in founders. Founders thinking engagement means they're winning, but their bank account tells us a different story. I literally saw a guy on Instagram yesterday. He was talking about how he's got 2 million followers and he's making less than $500 a month. He was literally telling the story of he thought more followers meant more money, and it literally doesn't. However, of course, you need to have a way of bringing attention in. So let me give you the last example, which I already alluded to right at the start. And this is in my last corporate job. This is a really interesting one. So my last corporate job, the company's called Future. It's the world's largest digital publisher. We tested everything because we were getting over 500 million monthly views. And these are not views on videos. A view at this company is classed as someone clicking onto a website page. So this is a really, really high intent to either learn or buy. So with this volume, you test everything. You have to make incremental changes, and you're looking for statistical significant, which ideally is over 1,000 people going through each variant of your change. One time, we tested a CTA button color. So the data was white text on a green background, which had, in fact, what we found to have the highest click-through rate. But the deeper story here is not that it was just the color change. So we tried loads of colors, black on white, red on white, everything. White writing on a green background has the best click-through. But there's more to it, right? So it's a combination in this story of color and copy, because we also found that check price outperformed buy now, because discovery questions always feel less committal than definitive commands. And you might find this as well. So the lesson here is that data never tells you just one thing. It's always the combination that matters, which is why you must either change only one thing at a time or everything at once if nothing at all is working. Absolutely change everything. That's for a smaller business or for a new project that has little attention. For big stuff, if it's really big and it's getting a lot of attention, change one thing. Change the button color. Change the CTA. Don't change everything because you'll have no idea what the data is telling you at the end. You won't be able to draw these hypotheses. So your action plan right now should be this. Step 1, pick one key metric pair that matters to your business. So I would suggest maybe email open rate and click rate. If you're looking at ads, it'll be click-through rate and conversion rate. Content would be views and clicks to offer. Funnel would probably be landing page CTR, so click-through rate, and booking conversion. And then step 2 would be gather data across time horizons, so yesterday, 7 days, 30 days, 90 days, and maybe last year. And then step 3, ask the 3 questions. So what's actually happening? What story does this actually tell? And what action does this demand? And then step 4 would be test these hypotheses. Make one change based on your story. Measure it for 7 to 14 days to get statistical significance. And that for you might be much less than 1,000 people going through each variant. Get enough people through. 5 or 10 people is not enough. It needs to be significant. And then of course, did it work? Great. What's next? Did it fail? Great. What did you learn? You must take action. If it works or it doesn't, you must take action. So there's also a modern advantage here, and the best thing here is that you can use AI to validate these hypotheses before acting. Feed the data into AI. Tell it your interpretation. Ask what it thinks. It's incredibly efficient, and it's literally what the biggest media teams in the world are using to find their data points. But the framework must stay the same. So facts, story, action. So what changes when you master this is that you stop second guessing every decision. You stop growing in zigzags. You start compounding momentum because each decision is informed by the last. You're literally stacking proof on top of each other because you're not going to test different colors on different pages. Once you know the color works or this CTA works or this messaging works, you can put it everywhere. Obviously test, but I'm assuming it's going to work everywhere. So your data stops becoming scary and overwhelming. You're not thinking, how does that guy have the best strategy? How do they know what to do and I don't? You've got the data. It becomes your competitive advantage. And remember, every successful business runs on data, but most people are too intimidated to learn how to read it. But now you've got the framework to be in the top 1% of people who actually know what numbers mean. And your challenge is to go and find your most important data pair right now. Open rates, click rates, funnel CTR, conversion rate, whatever matters most to your business right now. Run it through the 3-question framework and tell me in the comments what story your data was telling, and I'll reply to as many as I can. If you want more frameworks like this for growing your online business, subscribe because I'm breaking down everything I learned from building multi-6-figure business and helping 200+ clients do the same. Now, go and read your data.